Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Tharshini Nirmalarajah, and I am so excited to be part of the Best You Expo. I'm here all the way from Australia in Melbourne, and I'm here with all of the beautiful women from the Her Story Women Global Empowerment Circle. And today I wanted to share with you the ancient secrets of the womb. Every woman has a womb, and our womb is our uterus. Did you know that our uterus is the size of our palms and it has the ability to expand 100 times its size to hold a baby and grow a baby? But it is so much more than that. It has the capabilities to have a separate brain. It has a specific inner guidance system. It is our original primal voice. And it is the place that every woman holds deep insight and wisdom to transform her wounds into wisdom. And this is what I'm going to share with you today. But we're going to access the first portal gateway into the womb through our menstrual blood. Now, so many of us don't even know the powers of our menstrual blood and how sacred our blood really is. We have not been taught this at school. So I want you to know that our menstrual blood was known by our ancestors to hold so much wisdom and power. And a beautiful thing that happened back in those ancient times was that the women who fed the men, they found that within the crops of their land, when they weren't growing really well and the tribe was lacking nutrients, they would pour this menstrual blood onto the hay and put it onto the crops. And the crops would grow, and they would grow within the nutrients that the tribe actually needed. How incredible is that? Our menstrual blood has unique proteins. They have stem cells. There's nitrogen, potassium, everything that is needed for our crops to grow. And as women, we can give our blood back to our plants and you will notice them grow better. It is incredible. Within our blood, these stem cells have the ability now, through science, is discovering that one menstrual stem cell has the ability to differentiate into another cell. So it can literally create and become new life by creating a heart cell within a couple of days. I mean, this is incredible. It has the ability to create brain cells. It has the ability to create tissue. So it is rich in potent energy. This is similar to a caterpillar becoming a butterfly. This is how our blood behaves within us. And back in those days, women didn't have pads. They didn't have tampons. They would allow their menstrual blood to pour down their legs, because what it would do was create a scent, a specific scent which would be stimulated by our olfactory sensory, and it would connect and imprint the mothers, the daughters, the babies, the men, and it would create this bonding experience between the tribe. When women would menstruate, they would all go through a yin phase of their body. This is what would happen to a woman as we go into an internal phase, a resting phase, where we could start going into our inner discoveries and journey as a woman. But the men did this also, because the men would be activated also by the menstrual blood, and it would allow them to remember the way that their ancestors imprinted them and their maternal line imprinted them through the process of being born. When the men and the babies were born, epigenetic memory was being imprinted through the blood. And so men could go through this inner journey at discovering their fears, allowing their gifts to also flourish and come to fruition. And women would know this as they would shed their wounds. This happens through a Chinese medicine process as we explain the menstrual blood as a deep yin phase. This is a deep feminine phase. This is the time where both hemispheres of our brain would light up. So we would be more connected to the cosmos and to Mother Earth than any other time, as the blood would take us deep and pour downwards into the earth. This was a time of deep reflection. And our cycles were connected to the cycles of the lunar cycles of the moon. So women would have two major events within their menstrual bleed and ovulation, just like the full moon and the new moon. And women would bleed or ovulate through these two areas of the moon cycles. It was amazing. And it was showing us that we were so cyclical that we didn't need apps back in the ancient days to know what was going on with our bodies. We were so in tune with nature because the earth moves through you, the water moves through your blood. Every part of nature is within a woman. And the tribe knew this as they would create these moon lodges and red tents so that they could gather and go inwards into this process. This was a rejuvenation process for the tribe, a deep awakening that would happen. This is so important for women to remember this process. Because from a Chinese medicine perspective, when we bleed, our emotions move with our blood. So anything that you've been holding on to for the whole month will be shed during that time. And emotions will come up that are sometimes uncontrollable for us. Our fear, our rage, our trauma, our violence, our abuse, our boundaries will all be tested during that time. And for so many women, we are disconnected to our bodies in this way. I know I was. From a really young age, at the age of 7, I went through so much deep trauma that I was so disconnected. I was born into a Sri Lankan family and I was one of 3 children. My dad had an arranged marriage to my mum and he wasn't happy. He was an alcoholic, and at that tender age of 7, I was violently raped by my father. And this brought so much shame, so much guilt, like it was my fault. I was so angry. I was infused with rage. I hated men. I didn't trust anyone. And I didn't know what love was because I was being shown in all of the wrong ways. And not long after he raped me, he died of cancer. So I was never able to express what had happened to me. And I kept silent until 20 years later when I finally said something. But after that happened, my mum was forced to move to Australia because the rest of her brothers and a lot of her sisters lived here. And when we moved here hoping for a better life, it was a horror story. My mom was one of 10 children and she was the youngest. So during that time, all of my uncles were very controlling. They would tell us when we should be home. We couldn't go out. We couldn't spend time with our friends. I couldn't go out to the movies. I couldn't wear certain clothes. Couldn't color my hair. I couldn't speak up. I was told I was wrong numerous amount of times, and I was punished or hit for speaking up. And I was so embarrassed at what was happening to me at home that I didn't tell a soul. Until when I got to about 15 years old and things started to get a lot worse within my family, I watched my mum get hurt. And during that time, the police were called. When the police got called, I realized that this was the time where we could stand up and stop this violence. So I told the police everything that had happened. And I pushed for a restraining order at 15 towards my uncle. This process brought deep shame to our family, as I spoke to a lot of my family members who were angry that we did this. They believed that he did this because he loved us. And it was so distorted about what love was. This is what they knew. This is what every woman experienced, and all of my ancestors deeply ingrained within the cells of their bodies. And so I knew that I knew better. And so most of them disowned us during that time. But this is where my family had their liberation, where I was finally able to live again. But during that time, I had so much wounding around men, about love, about trust. And so I journeyed deep within my body. I didn't read books. I didn't watch seminars or anything like that. I just went inwards. And during that time, I was studying to become a doctor of Chinese medicine, doing my degree. And that really opened me up into really understanding how my cycles are so important. So the first thing I did was come off the pill, because I knew it was blocking everything from my hormones functioning and from me connecting with my body and hearing her messages. As soon as I did that, things started to transform. And then I went deeper. The more I healed my wounding, the more I went into my womb. She showed me what was going on within my ancestry line. And I saw images of my past lives. I saw images of the men that had entered my life and what the messages were. I literally saw my ancestors. I was communicating with them and healing the bloodline. During this time, I had a deep spiritual awakening, where during my awakening, I started to see the body in a 5-dimensional awareness, where I could see inside the womb, inside the cells, inside the fallopian tubes, inside the cervix of myself and other women. And this work allowed me to start perform diachic surgery on the system, on body parts. During that time, women were flocking to me, and I started to work with women all around the world. I started to work with women and thousands of patients who were suffering from gynecological issues like PMS, endometriosis, PCOS. I started working with women who were going towards having a hysterectomy through menopause. I started to work with couples experiencing fertility issues who were going through IVF or wanting other methods of conceiving. And what I found was all of them had womb issues. So when we go into our womb of our mother, all of those genetic imprints are passed on to us through those amniotic fluid, through what she felt when you were in the womb. And as I was working with all of these patients, they were having an experiential process. They were moving into their womb where the womb was talking to them. The womb's voice was being projected through the heart, through the throat. And so women would start crying, they would start screaming, they would start shaking uncontrollably. They would feel like blood was being poured down their legs as we journeyed into their womb. They would say things like, crying, and they would say, I've had a stillborn, but not from this life. And they felt the trauma, the loss, because that was sitting within their tissues, and they were remembering again. And so as they shed those fears, as they shed their rage, and as they shed their pain, they were transforming their wounds into wisdom and insight as to why they were the way they were. It was bypassing our mind, because so many of us want to dissect the body through science to know who you are. But you cannot say you know someone by dissecting the body and the cells. We may know what's within it, but we are so much more than that. And there's so much wisdom within that. And I was so good at being in my head. But now, as I was also moving into my body, I was so radically shifting, and love was pouring from me. I came to a place where I healed my ancestry line because I healed my womb. I forgave my dad for raping me. I forgave the event of being raped. And through this process, through the gift of love from my womb, I have now unconditional love for my father in my heart, like as if he has never hurt me. It allowed me to have full liberation for myself and for humanity, to have non-judgment, so that we could all take our power back into this present moment for all of those who have hurt us. This is the true liberation of our womb. And my womb was showing me these different portal gateways to open up into the cosmos. And it was showing me how I was being born from the cosmic womb, from the dark void, into that full union with my mother. This is the time where we feel unconditional love and true union with self, when we are in the womb. So we needed to remember this process again. So I ask you during that time, as you go through your awakening, you are not alone. Even though when we go into the womb, we may feel this. But what does alone truly mean when you split those words into two? It means we are all one. And you can connect to this oneness within your womb. This is the route to change our humanity. If every young girl could journey and understand the wisdom of her blood is her report card of her health. It allows her to respect her body and remember the sacredness of her womb, so that she embraces true union with herself and unconditional love. It will allow every woman to also have more conscious relationships. Can you imagine a society where everyone is in tune with their feminine power of being, of receiving their wisdom, and not having to push against the grain in a patriarchal society that is dissolving now? We are moving back to our ancient sisters and mothers who lived in a matriarchal society where the land flourished, where our womb energy flourished and our goddess priestess energy was once again risen. And this is where we are moving to now. And for all of you who are listening today, as a special free gift from my heart to yours, I have created a special recording that creates different tonal sounds, that allows different dimensions of consciousness to open up in the womb. Because I have specific sounds that are like keys to different dimensions that I want to share with you today. So if after you finish this recording, you can leave either a message at the end of this recording or email me directly at info@fertileseedsoflife.com, or through my website at www.fertileseedsoflife.com. You can reach me in these platforms. My work in this area has bridged both science, Western medicine, energy medicine, and Eastern medicine together to show you a new way of who you truly are, because you don't know your truth yet. You are constantly discovering your truth as you are shedding your belief systems from your mother, from your father, from your ancestors, and from your society. Your real truth actually resides within your womb, and that can only happen through an experiential process. It is the science that is within you. So if you'd like any help for anyone who is going through the fertility journey or through womb healing, I am here for you. But thank you so much for being here as part of the Best You Expo. And all I want to say to you all, from my heart to you, I love you. Thank you. Bye.